All right, guys, let's go ahead.
Let's do it. Well, hey, happy Friday. Welcome, everybody. We are absolutely honored, thrilled. Thank you, Damon, our host with the most from Exit Your Way. So Exit Your Way hosts this meeting every Friday, 1:30 Eastern and 10:30 Pacific. For those of you online, please use the chat box. You can throw in your LinkedIn profile. We connect with each other. So it is my name's Kurt Anderson, by the way.
With B2B Tail.
From B2B Tail, Kurt Anderson from B2B Tail. So e-commerce.
Also a sponsor. Let's don't forget about that.
Thank you, Damon. See, I'm giving you all the credit, dude. So
yeah,
it is. I'm just so excited, man. I am just so thrilled and excited. What an honor and privilege to introduce you guys, our speaker today, none other than Jeffry Graham. And, you know, of course, why wouldn't he? This gentleman was a professional motocross racer through his youth. Super competitive, great. What was he? All-state, great football player. Took that competitive edge, brought in an entrepreneurship. We were just having a great conversation. This incredible run that he had at Mount, which is, he can talk about that. 300% growth that he experienced. He's an e-commerce guru. So I'm going to quit at that. Jeffry, thank you for taking your time today. We can't wait to hear what you're talking about. Take it from there, buddy.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here. Excited to kind of see where the conversation goes and what, ultimately we want to accomplish out of, this chat or conversation or whatever we want to call it these days. I understand that we're talking a bit about e-commerce. So a little bit about my background is, I've been in sales most of my career after my motocross career. And I love selling. It's been something I've been extremely passionate about through my whole career. And I got into e-commerce and into selling online all the way back into 2005. I actually sold my first website back then. So it's been a bit of time. I wrote my first website in around 2001. And, had been in and out of SaaS-based environments, e-commerce, worked in a lot of different fields from legal to manufacturing, heavily had a lot of clients in the last 7 years in manufacturing specifically. And so I'm excited to talk a little bit more about e-com, a little bit more about helping folks get where they want to go and accomplish what they want to accomplish. I typically work within companies that are experiencing hypergrowth. It's not uncommon for me to be working with companies that are doing 25% growth year over year, $1 million a month in growth, or 2, 3, 4 million a year in growth. So I'm excited to talk to you guys all and field questions and whatever, wherever it takes us, we'll let it go and kind of be natural about it. So I guess how do we want to frame it, Kurt? What do we want to start with, you think?
Let's see. I'll pop back in here. So, guys, as we've been, Vera, Gene, everybody that's on, Val, thanks for coming. Winnie, feel free to chime in any questions in the chat box.
Yeah, please do.
Make this vibrant. So we've got a consultant. We tailor this for manufacturers. So we have Val, which she works for the great manufacturer. Vera is she is a cosmetics company. So just kind of kick things off, let's talk, like, say you've got a company that's established, been around for a long time, so not a startup, and they want to tip their toe and they want to jump into e-commerce. Jeff, like, what's the starting point? How do you take them through that process, shopping cart selection, and then how do you go from there?
Yeah, that's right now, especially with COVID and what we're dealing with, we're having a lot of that transformation happening, and it's pretty aggressive. So there's a lot of things that I think that I can help with in the sense of what not to do more than what to do, because there's a lot of to-dos out there I think that are important, but there's a lot of things not to do. When you look at transitioning from a company that's manufacturing or sold manufacturing, and you've sold through multi-channel, let's say it's retail or you're selling through distribution or something along those lines. When you move to an e-commerce strategy, you have to be thinking about the way that your company is built and set up, and if it's capable of making that transition. Okay, there's going to be some major things that happen within a team environment that are going to have problems, right? So, one thing is if you have employees and a substantial amount of employees, you're going to have a lot of fear. Fear of change is a big thing. And so you can have internal fears there, right? So wait, what do you mean? I'm in charge of distribution and here we are going to go after e-commerce. So realigning your team is going to be a big big beginning point. A lot of people are going to jump right in, like, I'm going to build a website and I'm going to throw products up and we're going to sell. No, there's a little bit more foundational effort that needs to go into play. It needs to be built out. In addition to that, you have to understand how you're going to sell or present your products, where you're going to sell and present those products. And every company is different. Everything from like a cosmetic company, like you mentioned earlier, all the way to, let's just say, a company that makes, shocks for a car. The strategies within each of those is going to be different, but really aligning your team to your new strategy of pivoting towards an e-commerce or a stronger e-commerce strategy is going to be important, both for morale and then also execution. The other thing is cross-training. Like, a lot of people are going to miss the cross-training component here.
Right.
You have someone that's been in a role a long time, they know that role, and then they have to learn something different. There is no pool in the world that you can go and pull e-com people from. There's no college that pumps out e-commerce students. There's no the way that you learn this game and the way that you become successful in selling online in the hundreds of millions to billions is by doing it, and by doing it a lot, and by trying lots of things. And we'll go through, and I'm sure we'll jump into some of the basics here, but I think lining those things up are important, and then leveraging people that in your network, right? I mean, like we're having a conversation today, leverage insiders, people that are successful in this space. People that have been successful in this space have no problem sharing that information, albeit for free for a period, right? But we have to make a living as well.
Right.
And really understand, as a CEO or a consultant or someone that helps companies, that you have to understand their business strategy is now changing, and it's now going to change drastically. People think e-commerce is going to be easier. They think it's going to be less headache. They think it's going to be simple. No, opposite. It is probably one of the tougher business models, albeit they are very successful and you can make a lot of profit and a lot of success comes from it. But they're complex. You have everything from orders in, processing, shipping, returns. You have, there's so many pieces to this puzzle, and we'll touch on the important ones. But I think starting there is where people fail a lot. Is aligning the team right and building, and it doesn't necessarily have to be internal team. You can have consultants help interimly. You can have transitional folks. You can do this. You can do it a lot of different ways, but getting everyone on the same page that your business model is going to change, or you're going to add a whole new division that you didn't have before.
Right. Again, so like for smaller companies, say, so you line yourself up with a web designer, somebody that's rock solid on e-commerce, whether they go with WooCommerce or Shopify, BigCommerce, whatever selection they go with, they put up their website. Now it's like buying that brand new treadmill and you're sitting there looking at it. Now, what do you do? So how do you walk your clients through that next phase of, okay, you've got the buy-in, you've lined yourself with a good web provider. Now the party starts. How do you take that next process?
Yeah, that's a good one. So in e-commerce, we have websites, and then we have website platforms, and then we have carts. Is what people that do it every day call it. A website platform might be WordPress. It might be HTML coded. It might be Shopify. Shopify both is a website and a cart. The difference is a website is what is presenting a product or showing a product. A cart is what is transacting a product. So you have a website and a cart. So those two things are different. So if you have WordPress, you built your website on WordPress, you could have a WooCommerce cart. You could have a BigCommerce cart. You could have, there are different carts that you can attach and plugins to work with WordPress. Now, if you're in a Shopify, you're strictly e-commerce play, right? Because Shopify has both website front, but it is cart based. So understanding the needs of your business is going to allow you to help decide what carts are. Now, carts like Shopify or website platforms like Shopify, WordPress, there's going to be functionality limitations. The largest, most functional is going to be like a WordPress, because you have so many plugins and third-party developers that have built monsters around allowing you to have website nowadays that 5 years ago or 10 years ago would have cost you $50, $100, $200,000. Now you can build a sophisticated website with sophisticated analytics for a fractional amount of money. Shopify to me is a more all-in-one. It's kind of like, it's a little easier from a user standpoint. It's a little more user friendly. If you go into like BigCommerce and those other folks, those are really big for good. They're really good for scale as you get big. But Shopify has done a good job. I'm not a Kardashian, Kylie Jenner person, but I know that she actually runs her cosmetic line through Shopify or it's Squarespace, one of those two, and it can handle the order volume, and before it couldn't. So, millions of orders a second kind of thing. So I think developing what platform is going to depend on aesthetically how you want your site to look, and then how you want your cart to function. Shopify is going to have ShipStation. Shopify is going to have a lot of the back end stuff built in already. WordPress is a little bit more developer heavy. You have to have a little more savvy. You have to be a little bit more savvy from a development standpoint or from an understanding of a web development standpoint. But picking a cart won't make or break your business in e-commerce if you just present things well. But it can be a little bit harder of a learning curve, especially if you want to build a and it also depends on volume of products too. So hopefully that made sense.
No, I mean,
I don't know if
it makes perfect sense. And so, okay, so again, when you reach that point and you're ready to move forward, what's your, when you're with a client, are you looking at pay-per-click? Are you looking for social? Like what's going to be like somebody wants to get in the game yesterday? What are you promoting to like get the game going?
So when you're building a website, e-commerce website, or you build a platform which you want to sell online, you have to think of things in terms of search terminology. So a lot of people build websites around product features. A lot of people aren't searching product features. So there's a couple different ways, right? So if am I selling through a channel like Amazon, or am I selling through my website directly? If I'm selling through my website directly, there's going to be important things I have to design and develop really well. One's going to be my URLs, my product listings, my URLs in general, which means, and hopefully everyone here I think knows what a URL is. In addition to that, you're going to have your meta titles have to be written in search terminology, less like if you're on Amazon where it's more about product features, because when you're selling a product online and you're using Google or Bing as your ability to be visible, they're looking for search terms, and people are typing in search keywords and search terminology. So you have to understand what keywords you are wanting to be found from. Are you going to be selling your products on a local level, or is this a national play, or is it an international play? So image keywords, image tags, all of your title tags, all of your meta tags, all of those things have to be embedded in your descriptions of your product listings, in the product listings, into the page listings, and those all funnel through. And it won't happen overnight. You're not going to get organic traffic this quick. It's going to take time, but if you build it right, it will happen over time and it will grow quickly. Everything from understanding what keyword content you really want to put into your listings and how you write your listings is going to make or break your sales online. Both from even if you are going to go into PPC and you're going to run Google Shopping campaigns. Google Shopping's pulling data from your website. It's pulling data from your cart and it's presenting that data. They're not rewriting your data. So how you wrote your data, good information in is good information out. Bad information in, bad information out. So really understanding how to write a listing, a product listing, really understanding how to write a website page is going to help you not only do it yourself, but also as a leader, be able to understand that the person you've hired, your web guy or your e-com expert, is really, you can also manage that they're not full of it. Right. Other things is put in your tools to measure. Google Search Console. Probably a lot of people don't even know what the heck Google Search Console is. But if you're don't have your website plugged into Google Search Console, you got problems. Bing Webmaster Tools. Bing is 30% of search on the internet. So you're going to capture some good opportunities, especially in generations where they're not downloading Chrome and Firefox. They're just using Internet Explorer or Edge, and that Microsoft is making a huge effort there with Edge, and it's actually pretty impressive over the last 3 weeks or month-ish. I think Chrome's going to have some changes there. And then I would look at things like your SEM, search engine marketing, your SEO. Obviously, we talked a bit about that, and then domain authority, right? So a lot of times people are like, man, I have listings, I'm putting my stuff everywhere. Well, domain authority is important. That's why if you Googled your own name, your LinkedIn profile is probably going to come up first, because LinkedIn has huge domain authority. Amazon has huge domain authority. Google, of course, is a search engine, so that doesn't matter. But Walmart has big domain authority. So if you're on these sites and you're listed and your products are there, you're likely to be seen because their domain authority is going to carry you to the top of a Google search algorithms as well as Bing. So,
Well,
there's a lot. There's a lot there.
There is a lot there. So I'm glad. So kind of beg two questions, and again we've got Vera on the call today who has a cosmetics company. So I thought you touched on two great points. So Google Search Console. I'd love for you to elaborate a little bit on Google Search Console. And since I'm getting older and losing my memory, the second question, while I'm thinking of it, I'd love for you to touch a little bit on Google Shopping. So say, for example, someone like Vera who has a cosmetics company. So first part, could you elaborate on, just explain to everybody what Google Search Console is, what you're looking for, why it's so important? And then the next question, I'd like to jump in that Google Shopping and just see if that would be applicable for someone like Vera.
Yeah, so so there's three pieces of Google, right? So you have Google Search Console, which now Google Search Console is going to measure your performance over time. It's going to measure your impression rates. It's going to measure how many pages you have indexed. Those kind of things are going to happen in Search Console. Search Console also then is going to connect to analytics. Analytics is embedded on your site, just like Search Console is, through a header tag of some kind. You copy a header tag in and boom, it's there. The difference between the two is analytics is going to tell you what's happening on your website. Google Search Console is going to help tell you what's happening on Google. So those are the two distinctive differences there. And then Bing Webmaster Tools is the same as Google Search Console, essentially. So if you made a Google Search Console page, implemented your domain, put what they call your property in there, you could then link it to your Bing and it will just auto-populate your Bing. So you don't really have to rebuild it for Bing. You just have to have it built out. And then from there, you have Google Merchant Center. Merchant Center is what you would build a Google Shopping campaign through. Merchant Center is where Google's grabbing the data it would need to present in a Google Shopping scenario. So if you looked up a product and click shopping on the tabs in Google, that shopping listing is coming out of Merchant Center. But the ad delivery system is Google Ads. So kind of a complicated thing. And you know why it's complicated? Because Google was made by developers. And developers complicate everything. So they made it way too complicated, right? I mean, we could have just had one thing and it would have done all four of the most important. We could have done it that way, but Google don't like to do it like that. They're trying to make classic view go away, what developer view go away, and now they're doing this new one. The new view sucks. Anyways, they overcomplicated everything because that's what they do, because it's developers. And so don't get discouraged by that. Understand it is complicated even for people that are very experienced in that. But ads are what you would manage your ads, how much spend you're using. Merchant Center is what you manage in your listings. So Search Console tells you how you're doing in Google Search Total, and Analytics tells you how people are doing on your website. So those are the four things that are going to kind of, circulate the Google world that we live in. And then you have Google My Business, which is the local level listing piece. And that's, where you're building your local presence. Like if you have a local business and you want to sell just in Denver, or you just want to sell in Seattle, well, then the building out that's going to be important. And we're obviously not even talking about social media at this point, right. But Bing is going to run a similar way. But if I was running Google, if I had a product company, a manufacturing company, the first paid ads I'm running is going to be a Google Shopping ads all day, every day.
Okay.
because Google and run a smart shopping campaign. There's a distinct difference between smart shopping and your own generated campaign. Smart shopping, they have really smart algorithms that Google uses in order to get your products in front of people. But remember, that data is coming from your cart, because you're linking your cart to Merchant Center, which then says, yes, Google likes and approves this ad or the design of this product, no bad words, no punctuational problems. And then you get to go into Google Ads and you get to go, I want to spend $100 a day. And let's see how many impressions, clicks, and conversions we get. I typically like to see my Google shopping rates below 15% or below spend. So if I spent, let's say I spent $15, I would hope to make 100.
Good healthy return. So man, you just summed up Google in like 5 minutes, dude. That was just
sorry. I mean, it's a complicated mess anyways, but I try to make it simple.
No, I thought you did a phenomenal job. And so, as we're engaging with everybody on the call today, and I encourage, if anybody has any questions or did that make sense to everyone? So just kind of recap, there's a lot of, bottom line, you want to get involved with Google as far as analytics. You want the Google Search Console. If you are spending money on Google Ads, you've got Google Ads, and as Jeff is recommending, Google Shopping. So as we're kind of winding things down, first off, if anybody at any time on any week, if anybody has a question, pop in the question box. Damon can pull you up on stage if you want to have a one-on-one here with Jeff and talk about your business. We could kind of get into that. So,
Sure.
Don't be afraid. Don't be shy.
I've got one thing here, and this is because I know Jeff and I have done this before with clients. When you start out, your SEO is not going to drive any traffic to your site. I mean, you might get some, but it's going to be light. And correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, but you pretty much have to start out with pay-per-click if you want people to start hitting your site week.
Yeah. Don't be confused by Google. If you spend money with Google, they like you more.
Mm-hmm.
So
great.
I hate to break it to you, but they're not in the business of being generous, especially with SEO. And they're not in the business of giving you traffic. No, I mean, if you pay for traffic, I guarantee my SEO is going to get better too. And some professionals out there, some SEO gurus would say that's a contradiction. I would say that isn't the case. I would say that of all the e-commerce companies that I've grown and ran PPC campaigns, I've had a lot more success SEO wise. And it's very hard and very rare. And there's a lot that goes into what they call Pagerank. Pagerank was designed by Larry Page. Larry Page is the founder of Google. He was co-founder with Sergey Brin. Guess what? PageRank uses really key metrics. Domain authority means how much authority my domain carries. They look at things like big one is how old the domain is online.
Yep.
So if your domain's 3 months old, I hate to say it, you're not going to be blowing that out the park in SEO. Domain time on site, they call it time on site. How long your site's been up is going to help your domain authority. Domain authority goes into SEO. It's a very important part. Backlinks, how many people are linking to your website, how many cross links, how much cross pollination through channel you have. All those things in a big hodgepodge is how you end up being successful on Google. Damon is absolutely correct. If you spend money you're going to spend money to get traffic right away. Versus I'm going to wait and try to get it organically. You could be waiting 3 years. You could be waiting a year if you're good. But typically it's going to run in a 3-month or quarterly cycle. It takes about 2 to 3 months for the work you did today to really pay off on Google and through their algorithms. And now they recently stopped you from force indexing, which this might be a little bit too far out of bounds with what we're talking about. But before, when you made page changes or SEO changes to your website, you could request an index from Google and Google Search Console, which we talked about.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? They took that feature away because they're working on it.
Okay.
No, they're not working on it. They basically are going to just have their bots crawl now versus So, and that's a huge change, and that sucks, and I'm upset about it because it's a bummer. Because when I make a nice SEO change, and we have done a good job on making that page perfect, and I want to request a new index, it goes, nope, we're fixing it for indefinitely,
Right.
and that's a shame. But those are the things that you're up against. You're you got to pay to play in the Google game now.
Yeah.
So.
And the nice thing on our call, we are blessed with Mike O'Connor, who's a SEO guru. And so for everybody out there, please, Mike has the Service Professionals Network, great website, great opportunity to put your create a profile. You can put your business, get a nice quality backlink as Jeff's describing. So definitely do a shout out, Mike. Even if you want to throw a link in the chat box so everybody could click over to Service Professionals Network. So Jeff, as we wrap up, and again, guys, Jeff has had just this he's a young man. He's had a great career early on. What are like when you've gotten into, let's dream a little bit. Okay. Like when you've had some of that explosive growth. Okay. Can you, in a minute, we only have a couple minutes left, but what was like really resonating for you? What did you feel like you were really hitting home runs at? And just tell us a little bit of like, let's get on the other side. What does that explosive growth look like?
So, there's of course glass ceilings and things that you hit, walls where you're growing so fast, you then have to rebuild infrastructures, but we won't go into that. I think the thing that happens most is people aren't testing enough. And I don't think people are trying things enough. I think that you do one thing, you're like, that didn't work. You have to understand, I on the fastest growing companies I've ever helped establish, an insane amount of growth, million a month, just boom, 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 month over month for 20 months straight. That all came from just beating and testing and changing and adapting and evolving and thinking of my UX. You're going to hear a lot of UX, UI, it's technical type. UX just means user experience. UI, all it means is how am I creating an engagement with a potential customer? So that takes testing and it takes changing things up all the time because what Kurt likes today might not like tomorrow. And he's my customer today, but might not be tomorrow. So I have to be changing and evolving. And you have to evolve ahead so fast that it's a day-to-day thing. It isn't a week-to-week, month-to-month thing. I mean, we're making changes on the fly. We're making changes quickly. We don't waste any time, and you're going hard. And sometimes you're going to hit just home runs out the park, and then sometimes you're striking out and you're pissed and you're snapping bats over your knees, right? But at the end of the day, if you test enough, you implement enough, you learn and you educate yourself, and you don't get fooled by the bullshit that's out there about I can get you on first page of Google. No one can get you on the first page of Google but Google. So stop believing that baloney. That's the one thing I want to end with for everybody here. It's a joke. It's a lie. It's a fucking fabrication. Sorry for my French, but I get so sick of people trying to sell that crap because it's not true.
You're right.
They're not this chairman and executive of Google. You don't get to make that decision. So don't tell people you're going to do that for them. It's a lie. You'll do your best.
Right. And
you'll put them in a position to win, but you're not going to be putting people on first page of Google. It's a story.
And for our friends in New York, and I'm an older guy, I always give the Reggie Jackson example for us old baseball fans. Struck out 2,600 times, yet he's still a Hall of Famer. So you got, to be Mr. October and hit those home runs in World Series.
Yeah.
Man, you just got to keep going to the plate, keep
swinging.
It's a grind.
It's Michael Jordan is missed shots, right? I mean, you just keep swinging and you'll win, but just don't fall for the stuff. There's no quick way. There's no fast and easy. It's just be weary and be diligent about who you trust and who you take your information from. If you see a Facebook ad for me saying I'm going to get you 400% growth in 2 weeks, then you can feel free to come punch me in the face because I'm
Right.
ripping you
And,
off.
for,
It's just a joke, and it's
Right.
just people trying to take advantage of people that aren't as educated and aren't as skilled in this specific and overcomplicating things. And it is not that complicated.
Right.
Make things presentable, make them understandable and easy to digest. Put that in front of enough people, and you're going to have sales. You're going to have success. It will happen.
And
It will.
I'm glad you mentioned Google My Business. And I've been in for Jean still on a call. She's a small business development center advisor, so she's dealing with all sorts of different small businesses and with the different entrepreneurs that we have on the call. Google My Business is really, I don't know if you agree with this, Jeff. So when they closed down Google Plus, I almost feel like they've put a lot of that time and energy into Google My Business. And now with Google My Business, you can post blog posts, you can post videos.
Oh, yeah.
Images are very seen there.
Yeah.
And I know this is probably under talked about, maybe we didn't hit on enough, but make sure that you are labeling and tagging your images on your website around your product.
Yeah.
Because people a lot of times, what's funny is people love images. I mean, humans love pictures, Instagram. I mean, we can get into that, but people love images. So people will search a product like what a lotion, and then they'll click images, and then they'll see this pretty lotion bottle, and then they'll click on that, and that takes them to your website. Again, image tags can be super powerful.
Right.
So don't forget images and imagery, videos, and things like that. That will carry a lot of weight. But you're right, 100%. I mean, it's a wild west world in this game, and I think that just don't fall for the baloney. I just hate seeing it happen, and I feel bad. Like people are like, well, why don't you go and do more of these things? And I'm like, I don't like lying to people.
Right.
Sorry.
And
I'm just not that guy.
And again, I'm sorry, I'm keeping everybody over, but we could go all day, Jeff. You're just crushing it. But
sorry.
Again, like for Vera, for example, so she has a cosmetics, I keep referring back to her business and not to anybody else's business, but she has a cosmetics business. So say somebody has dozens, hundreds, thousands of SKUs. And let's talk a second about tagging those pictures. So like she has a cosmetics business.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I don't wear cosmetics. Obviously, I don't even have any hair. So, but with that,
me neither.
So
I'm hiding it.
But what you're saying is she could be tagging like her brand name, her keywords. Can you just talk about that for a second on those images?
Yeah.
You could take advantage of.
So if you think of things in terms of how you want to write like her listing, and also where the listing's written. If the listing is written on her website, she needs to write the product listing in search terminology. So let's say it's like a facial, let's say it's like a lotion, facial lotion or something, or a face mask that women wear. Then if I'm writing my product description on that product on my Shopify page, then I'm going to write it in search term of what it's going to do to my face. Okay. So let's think of it like I'm going to Google, facial cream that gives me smoother skin.
Right.
And I don't Google that, but that might be a Google that would probably be a Google woman would type in or say something like de-aging facial cream. Okay. Well, that makes sense because that's search terminology. Now, your product listing needs to articulate search terminology. So as you're writing de-aging cream for my face, your product listing, your URL, your meta title, your meta description should have embedded in there de-aging cream for women's faces, or have the major keywords. And as you notice, when you do any Google search, you will see keywords in there in bold in the meta descriptions. Those bold keywords are the keywords you typed in the title or in the search bar. Those bold keywords, the more that those are there, the more Google thinks, oh, this is what they want to see. So here you go. And then what happens is then you convert off of the search terminology. Now, that's if you're looking through a Google search lens. If you're looking through an Amazon search lens, it's different because I'm already on a place where I can buy lotion or from facial lotion, facial cream. So I'm looking for facial cream for this age, or facial cream for this complexion, or I'm looking for features more than I'm looking for facial cream. I'm no longer typing in as much about what it is going to do. I'm more typing in about the feature aspect of the product. And that's why if you look at an Amazon listing, it's feature heavy. They're always feature heavy.
Yep.
The good ones are. They're feature heavy and they have video. But a Shopify listing is less feature heavy, more what it's going to do for you. So there's some nuances and differences on how you sell and on what channels you're selling in order to make sure you're maximizing your exposure.
Yeah.
And so those are just, you know,
Yeah.
quick and easy things that you can think about differently on how you write your listings or how you're writing your product on your website, in your store, in your cart, whatever.
And I absolutely love what you're saying. And so our folks from Queens, they just went through the persona exercise with Gretchen the other night. So they're thinking about their personas that you know, we call them our soulmates, that ideal dream customer. And I love what you're saying. I can't tell, maybe you've experienced this, guys, like how many clients have, you know, we're positive our keyword is Kleenex. We know everybody in the country types Kleenex. Well, then sure enough, you find out, well, wait a minute, some other people call it tissues, and other people call it, you know, so there's, you know, and it's a great discovery to find out, oh my goodness, I have a whole keyword or a whole tribe of people that are looking for my product. I just didn't realize that they call it tissues when I thought it was Kleenex or Xerox when it was a copy, or you know, whatever. Yep. So like digging into, like, you really need to dig into what your customer is thinking and what they're typing, as opposed to just, you know, sometimes we get so caught up in our own product or our own solution. So I love how you were describing.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you get sucked into you're over knowledgeable. You know too much. You need to take yourself all the way out of your product and go, what would I do if I was looking for this? Mm-hmm. And then start Googling, and then start seeing what people are showing up.
Right.
And then start looking at their titles, start looking at their meta descriptions, learn from your competition or learn from people you want to compete with.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that. That is the game we play. And ultimately it's going to help educate you to what is attractive to Google. And remember, Google's job is one thing. That's to give the best result for your search possible.
Amen. God,
that's it. That's their job.
And make money doing it.
Well,
and make a time.
Yeah, they make money doing it because they charge a boatload of ads. It used to be 3 ads per page. Now it's like 10.
Yeah. It's everywhere. And Vera actually put her website in the chat box there. So it's Vera Moore Cosmetics. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Vera was actually in a soap opera. I think I think we have a celebrity on the show today.
Oh, dang. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. So anyway, guys, I know we could talk all day, and I hope this is productive, constructive. We're going way over.
We should do. We'll probably do something where maybe we can get into like, hey, just how to run PPC. Or, you know, the weeds a little bit. But I hope that some of this stuff was helpful to everyone, and you know, some truth bombs in there. But overall, I think you know, we covered a fair amount in the short amount of time we have. So
I mean, I'm hoping there's definitely topics here. I mean, we could spend a day on just listing writing, because once you understand that and how that or like you said, integrating keywords into that, the imagery and the whole 9 yards, there are so many topics here that don't want to overcomplicate it for people. But you also need to know where you're going to sell and how you're going to sell it. And it's no different than walking out on the street and going, I'm going to sell this today. You gotta get it right. So
exactly. And Jeff, if you've got a couple minutes, so what we're going to do, guys, we're going to go back to the tables. Jeff's going to be there. So if this is hot, Vera, Winnie, if any of you guys want to come to the table, get a little one-on-one with Jeff, and
sure,
you bet. Yeah. And so for all of you that listen on LinkedIn Live, thanks for joining us here on the Manufacturing Ecommerce Success Series. We're going to be back again next Friday with who, Kurt?
Next week are you guys sitting down? I have to. Are you out? You ready? Jeff, give me a drum roll. Ira Bowman is in the house next Friday.
Oh, yeah. We got Ira
Bowman, the LinkedIn guru, is going to be in the house next Friday.
Me and Ira like to fight.
Yeah.
I love it.
No fight Fridays, man. It's all peaceful.
No, we got mad love for each other. We love to push each other.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. All right, so we're going to drop off on LinkedIn, and
Cool.
if you're ever listening to LinkedIn, you want to drop onto Remo, you know, we always put the link in the LinkedIn Live, and you can get it there that way too. Thanks a lot, everyone on LinkedIn.
Thanks, everybody. Look forward to chatting.
Yeah, we're going to
Sounds
go to
good.
the tables now.
All right.